Hello and welcome to another step-by-step how to tie tutorial video. This is the balanced leech. The secret behind this is all in the hook. This is tied on a 90-degree bend hook. This is a Mustad 32756. This is a 1/0. The bead head on there is a cone head. This is a large black nickel tungsten cone head. For that extended portion up there, I am using a stainless steel nail. For my tying thread, I am using a black 4/0. Wanted a little something extra heavy duty on this one. The tail is black Marabou. I also have a little bit of Krystal flash. That is a Mirage accent Opal. For the body material, I'm using this fun stuff called Gilt Eyelash. This is the Deep Night. Definitely some fun material there. And a ribbing. This is a heavy gauge copper wire ribbing. This was salvaged from an electronics component. And at the head there, I do have a little bit of peacock black trout ice stubbing. That could also be substituted for something hot to represent an egg-sucking leech. So we'll go ahead and remove our sample and secure our 1/0 hook. And like all good flies, it begins with just a single wrap of thread. We'll secure the rest of that down. And I'm going to take my thread all the way up to that bend where I am going to tie in the nail and cone head. You can definitely experiment with different sizes of hooks and different cone heads or bead heads, different nails. This took a little bit of experimenting, but I believe this is the proper balance point. So when this fly is working the waters, it'll hang horizontal. This will be a great still water fishing pattern. Get this locked down nice and tight. Here we go. All right. Once that nail and that cone head are secured, I'm going to come in with this heavy gauge copper wire. And I'm going to tie this in on the top side of the nail. And as I take it to the bend, I'm going to carefully work it down right off the tip. And that'll just add a little bit of protection there. Take this all the way to the bend. And we'll get that off to the side. Come in with our black Marabou. I'm going to measure this out proportionate to my overall length, which is going to be a little bit longer than one hook's length. That ought to do it. When I tie this in, I'm just going to take it up to the tip of the nail and lay that down and lock it down. This will help even up the thickness of the body. Take our thread back to that bend and we're going to tie in our Krystal flash. A little tip is to leave it in the bag, cut the corner off, and you can just come in with your whip finish tool or bodkin and pick out as many pieces as you need. I'll fold this over, so I end up with 8 strands on either side. I'll do the near side of the hook first. Run this forward just a little bit. So when I fold this up and over, I can take it back on the far side of that hook. And I'm just going to give these a little bit of a trim. Don't want them to go out past that tail there. Take my thread forward to where my Marabou and the tip of that nail meet, and I'm going to tie in my Gilt eyelash. Again, I'm just taking it up here so I can get a little bit more of a uniform body thickness. That way we get a nice smooth transition right there. Take my thread, park it up at the bead, at the cone head. And here we go, touching wraps with this Gilt eyelash. Each wrap, I'm going to take it forward. I'm going to fold the fibers back a little bit. I'm going to come through and pick this all out, but might as well start it off on a right foot. I think with this one, pretty much the buggier the better in my opinion. That way we get some good action in the water. If the fly has good action, then your rod will have good action. It's all about the action. This fly is fairly simple to tie, I believe. It's a little complex, not for the faint of heart. This fly does exercise a little bit of patience. But I believe the overall result of this one is just fantastic. This fly I just learned not too long ago at my local fly fishing club meeting. Each week somebody demonstrates a fly pattern they've been working on, or what has worked for them in the past. And this was it at our last meeting. I encourage everybody, find a local fly fishing club. And if you can't find one, start one. If you can't find a hero, be the hero. That's what I say. Well, I didn't say it, but I agree with it. Alright, I took a few wraps there right behind that cone, just to build up a little bit of additional bulk behind. Here we go, trim that out of the way. Couple more locking wraps. That's still relatively loose, but we're going to come in and do some counter wraps with that copper wire. Before I do that, I'm going to come in with this little brush and tweeze out some of those fibers that might have been just barely hanging on. Beautiful. Alright, take some counter wraps with this one, and this Gilt eyelash, it's really nice to have a bodkin handy. That way you can guide the material out of the way as we do our counter wraps. definitely want some good contact here, some good locking wraps. This being a 1/0 hook, we're definitely targeting the bigger end of the spectrum here. This one you'll definitely need a large landing net. Alright, right here behind the bead, and I'm actually going to do some extra wraps with this wire right behind there. This will add a little bit of additional weight. Nice and tight. Alright. Secure that down with some locking wraps. And we can trim our copper wire off. Just going to come in here and just tuck that tip of that wire in there. Alright, that's all secured. And I'm going to come in with a little bit of this peacock black trout ice dubbing. And usually when you dub, less is more. However, in this instance, I want to fill that void. And I want to fill it with some ice dubbing. This is the point where you could do a nice egg-colored pink. Would be an excellent color. That way you could have a balanced egg-sucking leech. We're going to give it just a little bit more. Work it into that little gap right behind that cone head. Really work that in there. Alright, come in with our whip finish tool. Secure our tying thread off. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. And we're going to do one more just for good measure. 1, 2, 3. Alright, one last blast with the little brush. Tweeze out that material. And just give that a little bit of brush there by that dubbing. Here we go. And what makes this so unique is the balanced portion. So as this sits in the water, that is how it will float. So thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe. Happy tying, and with this one, tight lines.